So we are in the middle of winter vegetable gardening season, neighbor. And while I am trying to get things going as quickly as possible, I've gotten my soil laid, my mulch laid, I got my soil blocks going with my little seed starts. I don't have anything in ground and time is ticking on my cold weather crops. So what I'm gonna be doing today is we're gonna head to the store and we're gonna see what plants we can find, and we can also see what kind of pricing we're gonna get and see if I can pick up some things to get my winter vegetable garden in the backyard accelerated, get it going, so I don't lose out on the season, because this is such a good season for growing many things that we use throughout the year. So the more I can get done now, the better. So we're gonna head into Home Depot. If we have time, we'll head over to Lowe's, or maybe if I find everything I would like to get at Home Depot, then we won't head over to Lowe's, but I suspect not. So let's head in and let's see what we can find for vegetables at the big box store. Oh my gosh, they have tons of strawberry plants, like tons and tons here. Now all my strawberry plants are still going, so I don't know that I would need to buy these, but a little pricey for just, you know, this size. But if you wanted to get something going now, maybe. So with this Home Depot, they actually carry their vegetables in 2 locations. And I find when they have like the multi-tray things, they tend to be in the back versus in the front. Though that was very exciting to see that they had strawberries today. Now, one of the things that I did want to try to pick up today was to see if there were any onion starts. I have never seen them at this location for Home Depot. Where I got them last time was the Lowe's that's across the street. So I do plan on swinging over there to see if I can pick up some onion starts, because I would really like to get those going since I didn't start any pre-Christmas. But we'll see what we got here. Man, they've got a lot of strawberries. So it looks like all of them are this Quinault variety. This may be what I had and bought last year and I just threw in a pot, which actually did pretty good. You can see with some of these strawberry plants, you got like a nice little investment. They've already put out daughters, so you're getting more than one. And it looks like for $6 you can get these little 6 trays of lettuce. So it's about $1 per plant. So that's, you know, if you haven't gotten started, that would be a pretty decent deal. And they have red romaine and romaine and head lettuce, all in 6 trays. And while some of you may be like, well, that's not the most cost effective, totally agree. If you start by seed, well, like the most cost effective is you saved your own seeds and then you restart. Like that's the most cost effective. Second is you have to purchase seeds. Third, though, is buying small starts like this where it's like $1 per plant. And lettuce is kind of a lower risk because you're pretty quick to harvest when they're already like that big. So going from that to like actually being able to get a return on your investment, and when you're talking about like $1 per plant, it doesn't take much for lettuce to pay itself off. So if you're really unsure or you weren't able to get seeds, I would say this would be a pretty good value for your money. Like there may be places that do it even better, which yay, if you can find it, let me know. But if you really wanted to get some lettuce going quickly, I think this would be worth it. But you may be like, well, is it really that good? Because what you want to think about is like, if you're buying lettuce today and you're buying bagged lettuce, you're talking about, well, I can't remember the tops of my head, but let's just say it's like $5 to $10 per pound of what you're buying, which I think it's somewhere between there. So $5 to $10 per pound of bagged lettuce. The way you would cheapen it is you buy head lettuce. So then you're in like your $1 to $3 per pound for doing that, but you buy it once and then that's kind of it, versus you spend $1 here, and if you can get each plant to produce a pound, you know, you are significantly ahead on your savings. I think it's even more than that. Honestly, I'd have to go check my tracker at home. I try to once a year just like go get updated prices and see like what it is. Now, where we kind of struggle a little bit for savings is when you buy these bigger tomato plants, you know, so when you're spending $10 on a plant, I don't think it's a bad thing. I think especially if you're a beginner, these can be really good to purchase to start. because you're just not used to growing the plant. So while again, it's not the most cost effective from a learning experience, spending $10 on a plant that's already started and trying to take care of it can be a good investment. I wouldn't do a huge garden worth, but like if you're gonna just do like a couple plants so that you can learn them and start getting experience on like how to prune them, how to like maximize your yield, what do they like, what do they seem to not like these can be pretty good. Just get a couple of them and then you start to learn, and then you move from like these bigger plants that are $10, $15, and then you move your way down to having some experience with like a $5 plant, and then maybe you prepare yourself to start some seeds then, and now you're saving money and saving money. So you can kind of work your way backwards if you're totally new. That's kind of how I did it. You know, I would buy something like this and start to figure things out. And then I'd also start throwing seeds in, and it just helps your learning. Oh, so we even got some other cold weathers like collard greens and celery. I've never grown celery before. Don't know how. I have no idea. We don't eat a lot of celery, so it wouldn't be worth it for me. Let's see, collard, Brussels sprouts, another one that I do not eat a lot of, but it might be worth it. Broccoli. I think this is the one I grew last time, and it tasted strange. I don't know if it's because of our soil. Did we amend our soil? I don't remember if we amended our soil. We just bought bag soil and threw it in. But they tasted strange. It was good. They were fine if they were in cooked dishes, but for being just like, you know, eating broccoli, they were weird. I'll tell you that. They were weird. Did you ever try Lieutenant Broccoli? Thoughts? Were they weird? Maybe it was something with the soil, because soil really can impact how things taste. You know, I've never grown garden sage, and maybe I should pick some up, but not for that price. No, thank you. So we got some mints, parsley. Ugh, this just looks so yummy. I just want to eat it. More mints, dills. Rosemary, really pretty. You can see Somerset, heat tolerant in the winter. Why are we selling this right now? In the pepper section. So we got sweet bell peppers, hot peppers, hybrids. You know, these are the type of peppers you want to start earlier in the season because they don't really have the defense mechanisms to keep pests away versus things like your hot peppers. You know, these have natural mechanisms for when we start getting the pest pressure. So these you can grow a little bit later. They'll often produce through the summer versus your sweet peppers. They will produce, but they will get stressed way faster. That's what I found. Because we're in January, doing some of these Big Boy and Heat Master and some of these larger tomatoes, and you can kind of understand that they're bigger. I mean, literally Big Boy. You would probably figure it's, but if you look here, it says like how big the tomato gets. So 16 to 32 ounces. You're talking about the tomato is literally 1 to 2 pounds. That's a 16 to 32 ounce. That's huge. And the challenge with that is that when you plant tomatoes later in the season, those are so vulnerable to pest pressure because they're sitting on the vine and they are getting their sugars in, and it just leaves so much time for just like one little bug to ruin that big old plant. Versus if you're doing like a Sweet 100, you know, these are tiny tomatoes. You're talking about like a little 1 inch. You know, by the time they're getting their sugars in where they might attract pests, if you can get them much faster. And so as long as you stay on top of your harvesting, you're in a much better spot to be able to keep the pests out and get a pretty good yield. So early in the season, like right now, because Central South Florida can start doing tomatoes right now, this is the time if you wanted to do like a Big Boy or a Big Beef or Better Boy, I don't know, one of these bigger ones, you want to put them in now so that they're developing their fruit in the warm season before the pest population really gets going, which, you know, it's going to happen. So yeah. So looking at this, we've got a lot of herbs here. I think I'm going to grab a couple herbs, but before I do that, I'm going to go grab a grocery cart. The thought process around grabbing some herbs is we don't usually grow herbs. I don't know why. We just never really been big into it. We put more focus on food production. So, but I've been starting to make vegetable stock and I'm blowing through some herbs a lot faster. So I think that would be valuable for us to have a couple of those in the near future. And I will do a video on how to use the pressure cooker. I've now done it twice, so maybe I'll take you along for the third time when I make my next round of vegetable stock. Before I go back out there, now that I got my cart, I wanted to see if they have any seed package, just because I try to keep you guys like up to speed. And this was the one that had them at the latest point as we headed towards Christmas. So I wanted to see, just to give you an idea, like, while all Home Depots and Lowe's might not have seats, will some of them have seats? So let's go check it out. Look at this, and fully stocked. Are we shocked? I mean, I'm not 100% shocked that they might have had it, but the fact that it's like completely stocked, it's pretty cool. And I know some of you guys were sharing that right now in January, there are some places that are carrying stuff like kind of bigger name brand stores. So Lori G was sharing that at Walmart, she found onion starts and potato starts, and then was sharing that Dollar Tree had seeds. So she was getting like a packet, 4 packets for $1. So some locations where if you want to go like in person and go pick some stuff out. And then it seems like, because this is probably the biggest Home Depot in like the St. Pete area, this one's carrying it. I would be surprised there's another one in the St. Pete area that I'm aware of. They've never had stuff like that one. So if there's like a really big Home Depot, maybe they'll have some seed packets for it. And it looks like people are getting into the warm weather crops. It's funny. A lot of eggplant. A little bit of radish action. And oh no, someone left their glasses. Oh, I want to get some more of these. I need more of these. I didn't save any seeds, so I want more. And a whole new brand. I've never heard of this brand before. Have you guys used Pennington? They gave a whole section to it. Interesting. Debating whether I should do some succession planting with some Walla Wallas. I'll have to think about that for a minute and see what other onions we got here. Okay, I'm gonna get 1 packet of this. Ethan, I'm picking out these ones. These are the ones that put out like kind of the biggest consistent tomatoes. The biggest problem I had with them this last year is I had a lot of sun problems, but in previous years, these have put out consistently, you know, kind of this size tomato, which was really good for lots of different recipes, from salsas, tomato sauces, fresh eating. So I feel like they're some of the most versatile, which is 4th of July hybrid and the early treat hybrid. Those seem to do really well for me. Grab a couple of these. Oh, wow. So fresh, the plastic isn't even broken apart. So I'm gonna grab a couple of these romaines. Should I grab one of these? Yeah, we're gonna try a red romaine. Okay, so that's like 18 bucks. You know what I didn't see here? I didn't see any cauliflower. And I know they've carried cauliflower in previous years, but not seeing any of that. But even though that Lieutenant broccoli was really weird in previous year, maybe it was a location thing, a mending soil thing. So I'm gonna try it again. We'll see. Some of these are looking a little stressed, a little sad. I will say it's a very shady area, and depending if it got some cold damage. But these ones in the back look better. They have spinach. You know what? All my spinach failed. All my spinach failed that I started by seed this year. So you know what? Maybe I'll do, we use spinach regularly when it's not sweet potato green season. So if I don't have to buy, this could have a pretty good ROI, because I think from like a pound perspective, $10 per pound. So anything we get off that would be helpful. This is crazy, because I remember like a year ago, these were like $3.78, not $5. But I am gonna grab a couple basils. Ooh, only $5.98. These are pretty big. Little Sicily, compact, only get 2 feet tall. Ideal for containers. Interesting. We already have a little tomato. Is this true? Do you really grow in partial shade? Because I've got a lot of partial shade up front right now. How many plants are in here? Maybe I'm missing out. We use a lot of oregano. Something to think about for my front garden, but I'm not ready to do that quite yet. Oh, that rosemary's pretty. It smells so good. I'm thinking I'm gonna try a couple of these. These are a better bush. I think these are supposed to be determinate. This might be really good for that back garden just to get started. Let's see, where does it say? I mean, it says bush, so I'm assuming it's a determinate. So let's try a couple of these. I'm thinking about those little Sicilies and the strawberry plants, because one of the things is with all the leftover soil, I have like self-draining pots, and what my thought was, it's like, well, I should just fill up all those pots and do some like little potted projects. And I keep thinking about like those little Sicilies for that, some strawberries for that, and maybe some of these herbs, like maybe lavender. I don't know, what are your thoughts? What would work well in, like, think like 5-gallon size containers, because I already have them. They're just sitting in the they're sitting in the garage empty, and now I've got a bunch of soil, so it just feels like I could place some of those on the edge of the backyard garden and maybe do a thing. I don't know, what do you guys think? Okay, so this is what I'm getting. I feel like I could totally buy more, but I'm getting 2 basils, I'm getting some spinach, some broccoli. Do I want to get more broccoli? Ooh, I might go back and grab one more broccoli. And then 3 romaine lettuces, and then 2 better bush tomatoes. And this pot is for a school project for one of my kids. Oh, and then the seed packets, I'm just getting more of these tomatoes, the sweet basil, and some onions, just because I need some more seeds. So who doesn't need more seeds? I feel like as a gardener, I just hoard seeds. I have tons of unopened packets of seeds of like, yeah, I'm gonna totally use these. But I feel like as an impulse purchase, they're pretty harmless, you know, because they're only a couple bucks a piece. Okay, so I'm gonna check out, and then we're gonna run over to Lowe's, and I'm gonna see if they have onion starts so that we can get some onions going. So I'm heading back to the car. We're gonna head over to Lowe's, and we're gonna see, do they have some onion starts? Hopefully. Let's see what they got. Now the thing is, between this Lowe's and Home Depot, the inventory tends to be very, very, very similar, but there are usually a couple things that are different, like things like onion starts I found at this one. Also, this one has blackberry bushes, which I've never done blackberry bushes. So I'm gonna quickly try to go through this because I have an appointment I gotta run to. So I don't have a ton of time left. So let's go to see if we see anything different and worth grabbing. So a lot similar. I don't remember seeing that patio container tomato. Ooh, eggplants, but we saw some eggplants there. I just don't think I pointed them out. Lots more jalapenos and hot peppers at this one. Ooh, did they have Mexican tarragon, or did I just not notice? And cilantro, I don't remember this being there. Cilantro, that's sage, purple coneflower. Oh man. Broccoli, collards, cauliflower and kale, and oh my goodness, a whole strawberry. Do they have them in the little trays? I don't want to buy, I mean, $5 for a whole plant. It's kind of expensive to, I mean, again, like from a growing learning experience, but also kale. I've never grown kale before. Have you grown kale? I know you can. We're not big kale eaters, so I've never really put the effort towards it. But cauliflower we do eat. Maybe I'll grab a couple cauliflowers. Oh, they've got some raspberries, blueberries here. I know they had some blackberries too. Oh, it looks like papayas. Pretty flowers. There's shisos. Ah, interesting. And stevia. Oh, and purple kale. Oh, pretty. But would we use it? That's the question. Chocolate mint. Wow. Talk about having a really good start on your strawberries. So I think I'm gonna grab a couple cauliflowers and maybe 1 kale, just so we can try it and see how we integrate it in our diet. I think that's worth it. This is really cool. If you were wanting to start dragon fruit, they're actually got dragon fruit plants. I've never seen that before. So I picked up a couple plants at Lowe's, and I'll go over everything that I got today once I am home. But now I'm going to just try to get to my appointment. But one of the things that I found that's different between like going to different stores, it's interesting, and you may not realize it, is that there's different buying managers. So even if they have the same supplier, like Bonnie and Barry Morris and whatever the seed packets are all from, what you find is that they'll carry different inventories because they pick different mixes. So what I always find with that Lowe's is that you can find things like, not that I've ever bought any, but I just noticed like you'll get those blueberries, blackberries, you'll get that dragon fruit. Never seen any of the stores carrying that before. Versus like what I find with the Home Depot is they just tend to have more. So if I'm trying to just get like a tomato that both places would carry, they're more likely to have more options, healthier plants, because the ones at Lowe's tend to get picked up through faster because they just carry less inventory of the vegetables than the Home Depot does. But the onion starts will always be at the Lowe's, they won't be at the Home Depot. So just weird things like that. So sometimes if you just don't find it at one store, you may find it at a different store because they carry different inventory or they put more focus on kind of the unusual things. Something to think about as you're trying to find stuff in January. So I'm gonna get home, jump on this call for the appointment, and then I'll come back and I will show you what I bought. And yeah. So we are back home and let's go over what it is that I got. So here is our haul. Not too bad, not too shabby. So in the 6 start trays, here's what I've gotten so far. Is I got a 6 set of red romaine lettuce, and I also got 12 of these green romaine lettuces, which I'm really excited about because they'll give us 18 plants. And I think within a few weeks, you know, we're gonna be able to start harvesting leaves pretty quickly once it gets its roots in. We can start getting some savings on salads because Ben and I eat kind of like a salad every day, most days of the week. So once we're able to do that, we're already gonna be racking in those savings because we've basically got to make up for this $18. You know, that's a lot. And while we don't buy bag lettuce, we do buy like the head lettuce. So any amount, right? Every penny saved right now is always a good thing. The next one up is we have another 6 pack of the spinach. This is, it's called Bonnie spinach. And with this one, this is gonna be great because once it establishes its roots, which will take a few weeks, we can start getting these baby spinach greens, which we use in our morning smoothie. Ben and I have a smoothie every single day. We have what I call the super smoothie, and it's got lots of really yummy good things in it. But what we try to always do is supplement things from our garden when they're in stock, from bananas, our mulberries, our sweet potato greens, but since sweet potatoes kind of after Christmas, switching over to baby spinach greens is what we've been having to do at the store. But if you buy baby spinach leaves, you know they are very, very expensive. So being able to supplement with some of our own spinach greens would be great, especially since I lost all the spinach that I had over there. So after spinach, these ones are both the Lieutenant broccolis. Now, while I did say they had a weird taste, they actually were really, really successful for us. I think I only got like 1 6 starter last year, and I planted them over where that raised garden bed is. And they did really, really well. So you get the main head, and then you can take, what will happen is after you kind of harvest the main heads, you get the little shoots afterwards. And because of that, then you get lots and lots of yield. So having 12 of these will be really great because we'll get a lot of broccoli. The only challenge was when we grew Lieutenant last year, there was like this weird taste, and I don't know what caused it. And it was fine in certain meals, like you wouldn't notice it, but in other meals, it was just like, so all I need to know is that we just really won't do very broccoli forward type dishes or fresh broccoli type dishes. Like if we were gonna eat just like steamed broccoli, that's when it was like, ugh, something's weird about these. But when in cooked dishes, I didn't notice it. So knowing that, and we do use broccoli very regularly in cooked dishes, so it's totally worth it. And anything I do extra, if we can't go through it fast enough, of course we can freeze it, which is always a nice thing if you can freeze some of your harvest, because then you can spread it out over time. Okay, and then I already talked about this romaine lettuce that we'll be able to use in our salads. I then got, for the first time, I've never done kale, so doing as a start will be good for me. This is a lacinato kale. I've never done that before. I do know kale leaves freeze really well, and you can use them in salads and stuff like that. If you've used this type before, I would love to hear what you've used it for. But we don't eat a lot of kale. I don't know why we don't eat a lot of kale, but we don't eat a lot of kale. So we can integrate some kale into our diet. And then next to that is some sweet basil. We do use basil on some frequency, and with me doing lots of stocks and stuff like that, it's always nice. And I'm getting way better this last year at drying herbs and cutting them up. So I did a really good job with some of my herbs that came out of like my native garden. So I want to take that over into some of these basils, so I'll do a much better job drying and harvesting this stuff. And I can integrate it in with some of my new plants to help deter some pests and attract some pollinators. Always a good thing. And then next we have our bush tomatoes, our better bush tomato. Now the nice thing is these are determinate, and these grow about 8-ounce tomatoes, which will be really good when we go to make salsa and use even in the salads with these if we get them in time. And because I've got my pressure canner, now I can can more easily. Because the cool thing about the electric pressure canner that I got is not that you can just pressure can with it, which is very good, but also you can water bath can, and it is way easier than I thought. I have not water bath canned with it, but being able to can our salsas and other things, I think it's going to help make the process a lot easier. So having stuff that I can can more easily. And you know, while Everglades tomatoes are great for growing in Florida, they are very, very tiny. So having some more substantial tomatoes with your Everglades tomatoes is very helpful. So I'm excited to try these better bush and see how they do, especially now that I got a sunnier location over there. And while I couldn't find them in a 6 tray, it was actually part of my original like to-do list in the project plan. I was able to pick up 2 cauliflowers. I can't remember if I've grown cauliflower before. I feel like I did. I feel like I've done that before. So we got 2 cauliflowers. What variety is this? It's just cauliflower. No variety needed. Okay. So we got 2 cauliflowers to mix in with our broccolis. And we eat a lot of fresh cauliflower, cooked cauliflower. We put it in curries and dishes like that. So this will be great. And similar to our broccoli plants, even after they put out their main head to harvest, you can keep getting like the little offshoots for dishes, and you can freeze it. So this will be really valuable for reducing costs for us and just being able to grow our own food. And besides getting starts, I also went and I picked up some seed packets. So I got 4 seed packets because, you know, the basil was pretty expensive, and I've grown basil before. I'm totally out of basil seeds. So I picked up some more sweet basil seeds just so I can start my own, which we're about at time for me to be able to do that. And since I tried my soil blocks, I can, you know, do more of this. So I'm going to start some more basil in the coming month. I also, because I didn't find any onion starts. I did look around and I checked to see if they had any extras around, but that means I'm gonna need to start more from seeds. So it is time for me to be starting onions. The challenge with the seeds that I did in my soil blocks is that some of those are green onions, like scallion bunching onions versus like full onions. So I need to make sure I know how many onions I start. And we eat a lot of onions, like a lot. Every week Ben buys 2-3 onions. So the more we have of these, even though I know people were asking me how I store them, we don't ever get around to storing them, because even though we harvested, I don't even remember how many pounds of onions this last year, we blew through them in plenty of time before they even needed to be considered for storage. So it is not a problem I've had to solve yet. One day I will. And then I know it's not quite time yet. We're like still a couple months away from when I might start these ones, but our early treat hybrids and our 4th of July's, these ones both did really well for me in past years. And they produce kind of like what I was talking about with those other ones. Like they produce tomatoes that are like this size, which is really good to have with your Everglades tomatoes, especially if you're going to make sauces or salsas, because they just give a little bit more fiber and flesh to the recipes. So I picked up those. Plus I picked up this pot because my son has a project thing, and I just needed to pick it up. So I did. And that is our vegetable plant haul for the day. Now that we're done with our vegetable plant haul, you may be thinking I'm going to go put them in the beds right away, and I'm not, because this weekend is going to be another cold snap, and these little babies are probably not going to like it a lot. So I'm going to keep these covered and wait until we are past that cold snap, and I kind of see like a couple weeks on the horizon of warmer weather. That way they can get a really good start, get their roots going, and then and before I put them in the ground, not just because of the cold snap, I need to do some amending in the soil, because I really don't know how good that soil is going to be. So that's what's going to be next, is we're going to go on an adventure for talking about wood ash and how you charge it and getting your soil amended when you get some fresh soil. So if you want to make sure you don't miss that, go ahead and like, subscribe, and ring that bell for notifications. New videos each week. And if you need help with what to grow and when to grow it, go to www.wildfloridian.net/guide for information of what to grow and when to grow it, which I already said. Okay, I'll see you soon. Bye.